The Industrial Revolution, a time of incredible technological advancement and innovation. But behind the smoke-filled factories, new machines, and growing cities was a darker story: the widespread use of child labor.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel! Today we're diving deep into an often overlooked chapter of history: child labor during the Industrial Revolution. You may have heard about the major inventions like the steam engine and the spinning jenny, but the Industrial Revolution also marked a time when child labor became widespread. In this 40-minute journey, we'll explore why child labor increased, the types of jobs these young workers performed, their working conditions, and the global implications. We'll also look at the reform movements that began to address these inhumane conditions. So sit back and let's get into it. The Industrial Revolution was a significant period in both United States and world history, split into two phases. The first Industrial Revolution spanned from the late 1700s to the mid-1800s, primarily in Great Britain and parts of the United States. During this time, technological innovations transformed industries, and new tools such as the spinning jenny allowed for faster production of textiles. As we moved into the Second Industrial Revolution from 1870 to 1940, industrialization spread worldwide, with the United States becoming the dominant industrial power. Technologies like the combustion engine, electric power, and mass production techniques revolutionized every aspect of life. But why did child labor become such a widespread problem during the Industrial Revolution? To understand that, we need to look at the social and economic conditions of the time. Factory owners needed a cheap, unskilled labor force, and families living in poverty saw no choice but to send their children to work. In this segment, we'll hear from a historian who specializes in the Industrial Revolution and child labor.
The key drivers were economic desperation and the rapid expansion of industries. Factories were booming, and owners were looking to maximize profits. Child labor offered a cheap alternative to adult workers, and children were also seen as more obedient, less likely to strike, and capable of performing tasks in tight spaces.
Children were often employed in a variety of dangerous jobs. In textile mills, they worked as spinners and weavers, responsible for operating large, dangerous machinery. Coal mines were perhaps even more dangerous. Children, often boys, were used to crawl through narrow tunnels to extract coal or haul heavy loads, all while inhaling dust and toxic fumes. Injuries were common, and many of these children were permanently disfigured by their work. Children also worked in glass factories, as chimney sweeps, and in agriculture. In these jobs, their health and safety were often at risk. But it wasn't just the danger of the job, it was the conditions they worked in. Imagine working 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, with little to no breaks in hazardous conditions. That was the reality for many children during the Industrial Revolution. The conditions were incredibly unsafe. In factories, children operated heavy machines without any form of safety equipment. Accidents were frequent. Hands or limbs were often caught in the machines, leading to serious injuries or death. In coal mines, cave-ins and explosions were regular occurrences. Child labor wasn't just a phenomenon in the United States or Great Britain, it was a global issue. While child labor was rampant in Western Europe and North America, other regions like colonial Africa and Asia also used child labor extensively, though the jobs and conditions varied. In Britain, children as young as 5 worked in textile mills. In the United States, the mining and glass industries relied heavily on child labor. However, in many parts of colonial Africa, children worked on plantations or in harsh agricultural settings. Each region had its unique labor demands, but children around the world faced the same challenges: long hours, little pay, and dangerous working conditions. By the mid-1800s, public awareness of the horrors of child labor began to rise. Social reformers, labor unions, and politicians started to campaign against the exploitation of children in the workforce. Key figures like Charles Dickens used their platform to raise awareness. Dickens, who had worked as a child laborer himself, highlighted the issue in his novels, which resonated with the public. Labor unions also began to fight for better working conditions, demanding shorter work hours and basic safety standards. These movements led to the first child labor laws, though it took many years and many tragic accidents to see meaningful changes. While child labor laws were introduced in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the problem hasn't been eradicated. Today, child labor still exists in various forms in parts of the world, particularly in developing countries. Organizations like the International Labour Organization are working to eliminate the worst forms of child labor, but millions of children still work in hazardous conditions today. As we reflect on the Industrial Revolution and its impact on child labor, it's important to remember that while we've come a long way, there's still work to be done. The lessons from history remind us that we must continue fighting for the protection and rights of children everywhere. Thanks for sticking with us for this in-depth look at child labor during the Industrial Revolution. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating historical content.
History isn't just about the past, it's a reminder to create a better future.